Good evening, everybody. Well, I have great pleasure welcoming our guest today, Nami Zarringhalam. I hope I pronounced it as best I could. And his colleagues, Mr. Shah, Mr. Tom, they are from this famous organization, Truecaller. I consider it personally a big honor to welcome all of you here. And even for soil, it's a big thing. Extremely thankful to you for accepting our invitation and agreeing to spend some time with the students. He doesn't need an introduction, but still completing the protocol. He is the co-founder of the famous organization Truecaller. He started as the head of the organization. He's moved on to become the chief strategy officer, giving the organization in the hands of his co-founder. But more than that, he's been a sort of a serial entrepreneur. Before this, he had two other organizations which he and the same partner started, both in the field, all in the field of IT. One was a search engine for a home interior company, and the other was a platform for getting employee feedback. That's the best one could make out. At a personal level, he's born in Tehran, which is Iran, but at a very early age of about 3 years, he moved to Sweden. That's where he had his whole education. He did his graduation and post-graduation in computer science from Iran Institute of Technology. And thereafter, of course, he has been working in this field of IT. Of course, technology is his passion, and we were just talking about it. This was really an innovation, that trying to build a directory, normally you select the name and then find out the number. Instead of doing it the other way around, you have the number and try to find out the name. So very innovative and provides different avenues. But more than that, he's also involved into many other things. One of the things we spoke about just now was digital monetization, which has a lot of implications and applications in what India is going through right now. So I won't now have any the way. I invite Nami to share his thoughts.
It's a great pleasure being here. I haven't done a school interaction for quite some time. Please feel free to interrupt me, ask any questions. Great. So thank you for inviting me to the school. I got an introduction on the values of the school, which I thought were very interesting because they tie so well into each other, but also they reflect the same values, very similar values that Truecaller was built on as an organization. So if you think about outside the product, like inside the company, how do we work together and those kind of things? Like what kind of attitude do we have towards our users, towards our coworkers, towards privacy, towards a couple of different areas. And I thought I'll get into them in a while as well. But just as a starter, I thought I'll give you some kind of brief intro of how we got started with Truecaller. I think it's easy to think that you decide to become an entrepreneur and you decide to become a leader without really thinking about what that means and whether or not that is really and truly what you're passionate about. So for me and my co-founder Alan, It started out very simply. We were both mobile phone geeks, and we were studying at the university for a computer science degree. That's where we met. And the first day, I had a smartphone, he had a smartphone. This was early 2013. So smartphones hadn't really taken, they hadn't really reached where they are today, right? And we were looking at each other's phones and thought like, hey, it's interesting. You have this phone, I have this phone. And we started to talk about the phones in particular. We were just, being geeky about the gadgets that we liked and so on. We were both immigrants in Sweden, and we both shared a lot of those values that, in Sweden is kind of uncommon. I'll give you an example. When I would go to my friend's house, the first thing I would do is take off my shoes and walk up to his parents and say hi. And then I would go to play. Whereas my Swedish friends, when they would come over, the first thing they would do is go sit next to the PlayStation and start playing. Right? And that's kind of an attitude difference that was there. So, me and Alan, we found that we were sharing the same values. And that's really where our friendship kind of started. At that point, we decided that sometime in the future, we want to do something together, build something together. So in 2006, we graduated, and we started off at different companies, working full-time as a full-time employees. But in the evenings, we kind of felt the itch to do something else. Like we didn't want to go out to party, we didn't want to go out and do all these other things. What we really wanted to do was just be creative. But we really didn't know what we read, what is being created. And so the first thing that kind of hit our minds was, we had both gotten a full-time job, was able to move into an apartment. Separate apartments, but so we both, each of us got an apartment, and we were thinking, and it was the same time, right? And we're thinking, why is it that for comparing electronic products? But there's nothing for furniture or home interior and so on. Like, where do I find the best products? Where do I find the cheapest products? I mean, we didn't get that great salaries either. So we were thinking about this, and we said, you know what? Let's just build it ourselves. That was the first problem we kind of figured that we'll solve this ourselves. So we started to build this search engine for home interior. During the launch, we managed to get some press coverage and such. Immediately, the website went down. We had built it on really crappy technology. We didn't even know what indexes on databases were, so it was just like really, really faulty engineering. But we learned from those kind of mistakes, and we kept improving. We never gave up. And 2 years later, this was, again, this was a healing project for us. 2 years later, I was working at this company where it was playing a rant about, all the crappy things that they will do. We thought to ourselves, like, why isn't there a place where I can review my employer? And so we said, hey, well, we know how to do it. Let's just build it. So we built a product similar to Glassdoor, if you guys know it. But that was like very specific to the Swedish market, and very quickly it got a lot of attention. It became quite big in Sweden, and we sold it off. Not for a fortune. It was 3 months, kind of after 3 months, we sold it off, so it didn't really reach a full potential, but we never had our hearts in it anyway. It was just fun way of expressing this anxiety about alumnus work. Right? So another kind of year passes, and I started to study for my master's. And when I was studying, I went to this international class. There were 100 students. Out of these 100 students, there was me and one other person who spoke Swedish. Everyone else came from, India, Pakistan, Iran, US, Middle East, and like everywhere in the world. And all these students were interacting much more often than I was used to when I was studying in my Swedish class prior to that. During the winters, the students would go back home to their respective countries, and you start to text with your friends like, hey, I'm coming back next week. Can we hang out? What's going on? Those kind of things. And I was so frustrated with the fact that I didn't know who these people were when they texted me, because they were using their local numbers for their countries. Whereas, in Sweden, of course, I had their numbers, but I didn't have their local numbers from their own countries. Okay, why isn't there a service that just tells me who this person is? Or at least just tell me which country it is. Right? It's pretty crazy that you have all these social networks you sign in to with your mobile phone number, and still. So with that in mind, we started to build a product called Truecaller. We put it up on some forums for developers. I don't know, is there any mobile developers here or anyone? No? Oh. Anyway, we put it up on some forums, and we started to ask for feedback. And that's the first, real interaction we had with our first users of Truecaller. This was back in 2009. And, we published the app, and this was still before even the Android platform was actually launched in Europe. But we published the app on forums and got a bunch of downloads, and that's when we thought, hey, we got more downloads on Truecaller than we did for this website that we were running, the search engine for home interior. That's when we said, okay, we've had, never give up as our thing, but here's like overnight, basically, this became much more successful than anything else we had done. And on top of that, being mobile phone geeks, we got to do exactly what we love to do. It couldn't be better. So that's when we decided that we're going to be building Truecaller, and started to look for seed investment. We asked our former, we weren't connected in any way, we weren't in the startup society. We were just two guys that built products, So we started to look for seed investments, and we asked our former bosses, and they knew us. They said, even if they didn't invest, they knew someone who had done some investment somewhere, and we met them, and we got our initial kind of seed investment. And that's when Truecaller kind of started to really grow, and me and Alan, I quit my studies, he quit his job, and we started to work on Truecaller full time. So a year passes, and we're starting to employ people. And this is where the values come in, because when you start to employ people, you really start to realize what it is to be a leader. You don't have those issues when you're just two people. You don't have questions of whether one person should do this and the other should do something else, whether your titles matter or not, whether am I supposed to do the dishes or is Alan supposed to do the dishes? Because we got an office space, and those questions kind of arise. And that's when we sat down. We had employed a couple of people. We were about 5 or 6 people. took everyone into a room and started to talk about what kind of values we wanted to have, what kind of company we wanted to build. And we set our 4 values to be, so the first one is fun, because we loved having fun. We loved, sharing fun experiences. We did basically everything together, and that's pretty easy when you're a small team, right? You have a lot of fun together, and you become kind of like a family together. I'm sure you guys feel the same about some of your classmates. So, that's what we started at. And the next one was respect. Because when we had started to build Truecaller, when we were looking for investments, our first kind of investor meetings, we had gotten the feedback that if your employment strategy is kind of to employ people from all around the world, we don't believe in that. That's what the investors in Sweden told us. We were surprised at this. We were taken back. Why would you say such a thing? And they were like, we have the best quality engineers right here in Sweden. Why do you want to go around the world and recruit people? And we said, well, we want the best people in the world. Why do we want to recruit from Sweden if they're not the best in the world? Right? So one point that was really important to us was diversity. And even today, we're an 80 people company. Out of these 80 people, about 65 are engineers. We have 45 different nationalities and 35 different languages, native languages in the company. The company language is English, so everyone can kind of work with English. But it became so helpful when we started to grow in Italy. We could just go to our Italian developer and say, hey, what does this review say? And he would say, it says I love this app, or like, no, it's crap, whatever it is. We would figure those things out, and we would be able to help each other, So diversity was a really important kind of one for us as well. And respect. And then the last one was, respect was because we were, kind of employing people from all around the world. What kind of environment do you want to have in your office? We thought the closest word we could come to was a respectful one. When I go to the bathroom, I'm going to pull down the toilet seat. I'm not going to, the next guy or girl that comes in doesn't need to have it, up. I'm going to be respectful to my colleagues. I'm going to be, not the kind of boss that screams and shouts and does a bunch of other things, like Alan's previous bosses, the ones you complained about. So the last one was a Swedish one. It's not really an English word, but we made it an English word. It's called prestigelessness. And it comes out of taking prestige out of whatever you're doing. So take it out of the game, take it out of the question. It doesn't matter who built what and why you built it. It doesn't matter who was right or wrong. Do the right thing. And that kind of fits well, like all these values kind of fit well with, you guys having compassion, diversity, mindfulness, sustainability, and ethics. Because these are all values that you're building your character on. And these are all the same kind of values that we wanted to build our company on. And we're still doing that today. So I thought that would be an interesting piece to kind of share with you guys, because it's so relevant to when you want to become a leader. You have to really dig deep and understand what are the things that you are passionate about. You can't be, I don't think you can be passionate about a specific value. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is pick the one thing that you really love to do. For us, it was like mobile phones. We were so geeky about those things. We kept being geeky about it for 10 years before smartphones really became a thing. So we kept being there, and we kept doing that. And the values then become important when you decide what kind of leader you want to be. So that was a quick thing. Another part was, about doing what you love to do, which is kind of interesting because when we started out with Truecaller, we actually started in with the home interior. The first kind of website we built, company we built, was we were solving a problem, but we weren't really doing what we loved to do. The reason we did it was because we loved to develop. We loved to develop a product, to develop ideas and those kind of things. But when you look at what our passion was, it wasn't really about home interior. I mean, I wasn't really passionate about home interior. Maybe some of you guys are, and everyone needs to be passionate about something, but no one ever told you when you were in school, or at least no one told us when we were in school, that you're not going to end up doing what you think you're going to be doing in life anyway. So don't think that just because you studied IT or you studied this or that, that's what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. It's not. No one actually ever told me that. So I cannot, when I go to a school, I always like to just say that in case you guys haven't heard it, because I wish someone would tell me, like, it's not going to be what you thought it's going to be anyway. Just figure out what you're passionate about and go with the flow, because there's always a calling for everyone in that sense. So yeah, that was basically what I had to share. I can tell you guys a bit more about Truecaller as well if you're interested to hear. Yes? Yes. Okay, great. So I was saying before that we're 80 people in Truecaller, and it's been really important for us to not kind of just recruit for the sake of recruiting. We try to really recruit the best people, and that has been one of the core kind of. It's a struggle. It really is a struggle, but it's one of those core things that I think creates value, real value, and where people are cautious about spending. Again, back to your values of like do more with less, because that's really what, when you're deciding to be an entrepreneur, when you really take the plunge, you have to do more with less. And even if you get funding, even if you have all these big brands, backing your cause, do more with less. It's really important. So, in terms of what we're doing at Truecaller, we've set up this organization in Stockholm, and we have one now. We've had one since 3 years back in Stockholm, with a team of 5 people. And now we're also expanding that with some development center in Bangalore. But generally, the things that we're passionate about and where we feel like we really create value for our users is around trust. If you think about trust in society, one of the core assets into creating trust in society is to be able to be accountable and responsible. And those are also things that you want in your organization: accountability and responsibility. The only way to do that is by having, clear responsibilities, but also a clear kind of identity around who you are and what you're doing. And that's what we're trying to build in Truecaller. I think one of the reasons I got a question here earlier was, do you think that trust has anything to do with Truecaller growing in a market like India? And I said, yes, absolutely. Trust in communication. And that was just, it wasn't like we designed it to create trust in communication. We didn't think about that initially. We kind of stumbled upon it first in the Middle East and then in India. But one of those things that we have become increasingly passionate about is to become a place where you can trust the people that you communicate with, and feel like your both parties are accountable and responsible for that communication being a good communication. That's why blocking out spam and all those things really makes sense. So going forward, what are we going to do? In 2017, I'm going to roll out our roadmap here. So we have a computer here. You want to show the roadmap for 2017? Well, basically, the roadmap for 2017 is building on the same things, but a lot of one of the issues that have been talked about a lot is, for instance, domain safety, which is one area where we feel that with a trusted platform and an app that people trust, we can contribute to that. So that's an area that we look forward to, do more. No. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, our employees get that all the time, like me and Alan. We can't tell if they're serious or not. Because sometimes we come up with these crazy ideas. And yeah, we don't know if they're serious or not, so just tell us if you're serious or not. Yeah, so Juan had a good idea. What do you guys think? Of what's happening in the market? What do you see? Where do you see value in Truecaller? What do you wish that we would be doing?
I mean, understanding how you guys create a workaround for using Truecaller for the iPhone. I thought it was very innovative. You guys created a spam list of probably about an MD, added it to the contacts and then blocked that contact. So it would have been just, if it were probably, if it had not been, if it had not been for your values, you'd probably just said, oh fine, we concentrate on Android. But the fact that your organization went 3 extra miles to ensure that iPhone users get some sort of value out of it, it was tremendous, and it's a very innovative solution if one comes about it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so we've done a lot of these workarounds, even for Android actually. We've done a lot of workarounds to make sure we solve problems, and that's really why you want to employ the best people in the world, because they come up with these ideas that me sitting in a chamber, I would never have come up with them. So our team is really fantastic, but one other area where we've been able to improve in the just past year is Tom Shea here. He's running our US operations, and he's speaking continuously with Apple, which never happened. It's an interesting insight because 2 years ago we tried to reach out to Apple. 3 years ago we tried to reach out to Apple. 4 years ago we tried to reach out to Apple. It didn't happen. What happened was, Tim Cook takes over the reign. There's a change in the market. This change happened to be that China wasn't growing as much, and next focus market suddenly becomes India. Tim Cook comes to India. What are the most popular apps in India? Well, they mentioned WhatsApp, Facebook, Truecaller, and then it becomes a priority. So suddenly, Tom reaches out to Apple, and suddenly we're speaking to them about what's going on, how we can help them develop their platform to be better suited for users in India. And they're trying to learn what we've been spending, 6 or 7 years now on learning. They're trying to learn that on a fast track and get into providing the same value that you guys are now expecting in some way out of the apps that you're running. So yeah, thanks. It's interesting that you noticed that.
I want to know that around 2013, I think we were doing all about hack. So it's such an, and they admitted that they didn't get hacked, and I think a lot of data was lost, and I think only half or even less than that were able to, it was retrieved by Truecaller. So in such a scenario, I just want to know how do you go about handling the situation. And another thing was that a lot of people's number gets stored in a database without their permission. So what is your stand about this? Because it's actually a kind of breaching of privacy rights.
Good question. So, did everyone hear the question?
Yeah.
So basically, I think there's been a common misconception really happened, and we've seen a lot of WhatsApp messages being spread around about like uninstall Truecaller, you have hacked, all of this and that. What really happened is stated there on our blog. That's usually how we communicate. It's funny that it's stated on our blog because what got hacked was our blog. We were running a WordPress, blog where we were just updating like this is the new feature, this is the new feature. It had no connection to anything else in our kind of development. It wasn't connected to production in any way. It wasn't connected to the databases. It wasn't connected to anything. What it was connected to was Facebook. So we used to have this thing where you would have to sign in with Facebook, for instance, or Twitter, if you want to comment on our blog. And then, I think we were using this product called Discuss to have those comments. And the tokens for those users who signed in was the thing that got leaked. So Truecaller has never been hacked. And we work very hard on having security. In fact, we work very hard to reach bank class security. Not because we want to be a bank, but because we also believe that security is really important. And to your point, even privacy is super important, and that's one of the key areas where a lot of companies are not being responsible. But we take a lot of pride in being responsible because if you think about it, receiving a phone call is like someone knocking on your door at home. And you try to peek through the people and understand who that person is, right? So on your phone, someone has gotten access to your phone number. It's your right to know who's calling you. And that's a basic right because your phone number has gotten into someone's hand. It's your right to know who that is. Now the other way around, in the introduction, it was mentioned that instead of doing a lookup for the name and getting the phone number, you're doing the lookup for the phone number and getting the name, right? Because Truecaller has never been about being able to search for a name and getting the number. You can do that, but the requirement then is that the other person accepts your request. So your number cannot be spread to people who are not supposed to have it unless they request it and you accept it. So it's like everything around Truecaller is built out of opt-in. You have to opt in to share your number. You have to opt in to get someone else's number. You have to opt in to all of those things. So I hope that addresses the question. Yes.
Generally, what's the trend nowadays is that whenever there is a new app or a booming app or a website that comes up, various large MNCs or the giants of the IT world try to acquire the same. It has happened with a whole lot of apps. So, have you received such offers in the past? If yes, how did you went about it? If no, there is a probability that you'll get it in the future. So, how are you planning to move ahead?
It's a fun question. Yes, it has happened. In 2012, the company was, we were kind of running out of cash. We hadn't gotten our first Series A funding yet. And, we were running out of cash. We didn't know what to do. And we started to grow in the Finnish market. Now, Finland is just next to Sweden. It has the same kind of basic infrastructure and all those things as Sweden. And there was a company called Connecta what Connecta did was it was an old school kind of directory, right? It was they published these directories, but every year they would put on your doorstep, and you would have access to all the phone numbers of everyone living in Finland, and you would have access to all the shops or businesses. And Connecta, surprisingly, even though it was in Finland next to Nokia, and their offices were like right next to each other, they had totally missed out on smartphones. They had totally missed out. And they were, lagging so much. They didn't have an iPhone application, and they didn't have an Android application that actually accessed their directory, because they believe that accessing the directory, you should only do that through the web, because that's how they can monetize it. You access it through the web. So they didn't, they missed the train, kind of, and they reached out to us and said, guys, can we white label Truecaller? And we thought to ourselves, like, okay, we're missing like this market with 6-7 million in population and keep the company afloat. It kind of makes sense. So we started to build Connecta color, and we basically just changed the color from blue to red, and changed the font from our white to their white, slap on right on the App Store and so on, and called it Connecta color. And they had in their budget for 2012 accounted for 20,000 downloads during the whole year. After 3 months, the CEO calls us up and he's like, guys, we can't afford this licensing cost anymore. Like, well, why? He's like, we budgeted for 20,000 downloads, and after 3 months, we're up at 120,000. So, your app is too popular. And we're like, okay, so what do you want to do? And he's like, yeah, we want to get out of the contract. But, we still don't have our own app. So we thought maybe we can acquire the code for Truecaller, and we'll pay you guys off. We said, not sure. Said, okay, another option is that you guys work as consultants for Connecta. You keep developing Truecaller, but give us exclusivity for the Finnish market, and you keep developing our product together with your own. So, not sure. So next alternative was just, can you guys fly over to Finland and meet us? So we fly over and send in this, and we're like two, developers. We have no idea what's going on in the world. We come there in our hoodies and stuff, and suddenly 6-7 people coming with suits and ties and stuff. They're like, yeah, so would you be willing to sell the company? And we said, what do you mean? It's like, well, we figure with what's going on, we would be able, we can acquire you for 10 million euros. Now, 10 million euros is 100 crore, roughly something like that. I think, right? 75 crore. Yeah. Okay. So for us, we're two guys. We're 26 years old. I mean, we have 5 employees. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and we're like, no. And they just sit there. They're like, what? What just happened? And we tell them, like, no, we want to think about your other options, because we don't want to sell the company. You guys are focusing on Finland. We want to take over the world. And they're like, okay, well, think about our other offer. So we go back to Sweden, and we're, in fact, I'm on a skiing trip with a couple of friends, and over the weekend, and I get a phone call from our chairman, who says, guys, the board is thinking about this. They're saying, like, maybe it's better that we take the, if you guys really don't want to sell, we support that, but maybe we should at least take that consultancy gig, right? It'll be a good amount of money, and we won't have to be bootstrapped like we are, and we can employ a few more people. It will be good. And we said, yeah, maybe that makes most sense. So that's kind of what we decided to do and hung out. In the evening, like in the night, I started to dream about like what a future for Truecaller was big was. And it's like these kind of mind tricks that you have, like if you're thinking about something at night, you're going to be dreaming about it, and all the things, all the cool things, or all the horrible things that are going to happen. And I called up Alan, and I said, bro, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be a consultancy company. We were not selling the company, but we were turning it into a consultancy company. We wanted to build a product. And he's like, I'm thinking the same, but I didn't want to say anything because no one else is saying it. Like, we both like, okay, so we both wanted the same thing. So we actually called up our chairman and we said, we don't want to do this. We can sell the code, so they get Truecaller code. We were anyway building like version 3, and they were, acquiring version 2. We said, we'll sell the code for version 2. We'll keep building version 3, and they can keep doing their thing. They get exclusivity in the Finnish market, and we get a big stack of money. And so that's what happened. Oh, yes.
So, sir, in April 2014, there was an alliance between Truecaller and Tata Docomo. Yeah, so how it has helped both the parties, and why only Tata Docomo and why not service operators like Airtel and Vodafone, which are leading in India? So why only Tata Docomo, and how it has helped both the parties?
Good question. So we did this partnership with Tata Docomo, and the purpose was to really get more people to start to use different apps and on like connected services, right? And we see a strong value in that too. That's kind of like bringing more people online is a really important thing because there's a lot of free information and there's a lot of access to things that otherwise would be privileged for a lot of people. So that's why we did the partnership. Why it happened with Tata was basically because they were the only ones who kind of liked the idea. Otherwise, most of the other carriers, at least still in 2014, they saw data consumption and data usage as a competitor to selling their voice and SMS plans. So, they didn't like it and they didn't want to do it.
Very good evening. So we just read out that you're going to implement the CSO special starting from January 2017 now in mobile phones. These kind of features have a huge potential to become an instant hit. Thanks for that. To become an instant hit from the market. But when you go to remote places in India, there is a huge chance of the network disconnecting. So I would like to know how you're going to tackle the same.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we have in mind is not something that would use your data connection, but it would need to have some sort of connection. I'm not going to talk about the solution now, but it's one that I think most people would like. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
So Truecaller has been almost that thing. So you started off with Truecaller, then you moved to Truecaller, but currently finding Truecaller and so project. And you have merged the features of Truecaller into Truecaller. And it happened very essentially. So why did you shut down that? So fine.
So both Truecaller and True Messenger were launched to learn more. So one of the areas where it's hard for a company that has a product like Truecaller to learn quickly and iterate that quickly as you need to do when you want to really propel yourself to a different level, is you reach the bottleneck of building a product, and every time you try to do an update, because we're learning about this standard behavior every week, and if you want to do updates on your main product, which is Truecaller, it's going to be really hard because people start to complain within it. If you do updates on your app every week, then they're going to start to complain about the data usage and about the UI changing too much, and all of these things. So in those cases, it's actually pretty helpful to be able to kind of spin it off to something else, iterate on that really quickly. If you feel it's still valuable, either you can keep building that brand, or you can pull it back into your main app, and then you have all the learnings that you have. So one of the key areas where we learned, we brought a lot of value back to the user was through the availability feature in Truecaller, which basically signals, if you're free or not, and when the last seen of the person is. Basically, a couple of things that we've seen in messaging apps usually, but not in an island, right? So that was one of the key insights that we had, and we got a lot of other key insights by doing that quick iteration in Truecaller instead of Truecaller. And then the reason we decided to pull that back is because we also had learned enough. We got a lot of feedback that why do I need these two apps? Why can't it be one? Always, have your ears to the ground.
Do you see building a social networking aspect to Truecaller? Like you are getting numbers and you use that to send text, something like iMessage or something like that. Do you see that happening?
It is definitely an area that we're looking into, and the reason is, even today, I think we hear a lot about, most people use, if they have a device that is connected, they use WhatsApp. And although I'm a big user of WhatsApp myself, one of the areas where I think that most of the messaging apps can improve is being able to block spam and irrelevant contact, and someone suddenly adds you as a contact and starts to send you messages and pictures, and they automatically get downloaded because you're on the Wi-Fi, and it's like, these situations are not great, and so we think that there's areas where we can contribute in that, but without saying that we're doing it or not, that's a different story. But we do believe that we can contribute in creating more value for users and more trusted network for the users.
Oh, I read an article in which it says that Truecaller is building up the capability of for VoIP. Because most of the time when the unknown number came to us, there is one pop-up window came to our screen itself that you can call back. And whenever we hit that button for a call back, we use our normal mobile facility from our operator itself. Are you building up such capability that we can use our mobile data to call back? Because I read it somewhere on the technical forum that you are about to build that, but you are scared of WhatsApp and then you drop that.
Please send me the link. No, we've never built anything like that. Or, whether we do it or not is a different question, like in the future. Because again, if we feel that we can provide value and safety and trust, people will do it. But if it's not a problem that needs to be solved, then we don't need to solve it. So I think that the rumor was totally wrong. It has never been in the roadmap for any of the years in the past. But yeah, please do send the link. What's the forum?
Because they are in my laptop itself setting.
Looking forward to this current market. Right now, voice over internet is getting increasing day by day. And SK is when I'm a customer of Truecaller, I'm using it. But it's generally when you call somebody over the phone to phone. And right now, people have started using voice over the internet. So like as a Truecaller, like if you thought of something security can be added over, voice to, I mean, using voice over internet or something, is that I think you are looking forward as
So this is a similar question to the previous one. Let me return the question. Do you think that we can add anything to that environment?
Because I mean, like what he said that right now WhatsApp, if you will save contact, right? This you will be able to see your profile picture. So in addition, if we could have more details apart from profile pic, what is available, and the name that is displayed, that I can change. I can put on my own name. So rather, if Truecaller can help us out, providing us further details apart from profile pic, what the people are using right now, and the facility what is being provided right now over the phone. Same it could be incorporated even in WhatsApp call or you can say voice over internet or something like that.
So now I understand a bit better.
I mean the details from which we can trust upon like that. Because right now as a phone user, I have a trust on Truecaller that the person, I get the name of the person who is trying to call me up. So that's a trust I have that it's genuine. For example, in WhatsApp call, anybody can put any device profile and he can put any name. So I think if we could get some concrete details, I think it might work.
So if you go into, for instance, if you receive a WhatsApp call from an unknown number and you want to find out more about that contact, if you go to the details, just press and hold on the phone number, it will be copied to your clipboard. As soon as the phone number is copied to the clipboard, Truecaller will actually pop up with the details of that profile. And from there, you can press the more information button, which will bring up the detail view of Truecaller. And there you can see other connections. For instance, does this person have a Facebook profile connected? Do they have, an email address? Whatever information is available, you'll be able to find it there. So in the case of unknown numbers and VoIP, we can still provide value, but VoIP usually requires both ends to know each other, and that's where just providing caller ID becomes less important. However, if all of your phone calls move over to VoIP, like including the ones where you call a business, for instance, or if you call, if you start to use VoIP as your main way of dialing and you're dialing phone numbers, not contact, then yes, Truecaller would be able to add much more value. Cool. So I think, any more questions?
We want to ask how you
Oh yeah. Anyone who wants to share, a nice story about Truecaller?
How did you find?
How did you find it?
Get to know about Truecaller?
One time when it was helpful that you really didn't think about before. Anyone?
Just block the customer care. Only we have to save all the different contacts center, but we have two separate
Because in India, there's a lot of spam with respect to the carrier actually spamming your after logistic or 10 different AAV services. Now, all through word of mouth, you can actually find out through messenger that doesn't even let spam to your messages. So little things like that.
I actually have a funny story. I don't have Truecaller on my phone. I was using an Android phone before this, and what happened was I got a call from a number where they were asking me to donate money for some cause, and then they gave me a very sad story about a child who suffering from cancer or something like that. And I got really engaged and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry about that, and blah, blah, how can I help, and all of that. And then my friend told me that, what's the number that you got this phone from? She was using Truecaller. And she checked on her phone and it said it was a spam number. So then I downloaded Truecaller.
That's good. I'm glad we could protect you.
I was always curious, it doesn't option go broke. It's a paid version. So I was always curious what percentage of the Indian market actually goes to the go broke version.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's not many in terms of percentage. I think that has a lot to do with the ecosystem in India. Still, I think there's one carrier that has integrated carrier billing in Google Play. I don't know if Vodafone or Tata, maybe, I don't know, but carrier billing. Yeah, so otherwise, just like you have to have a credit card or, whatever, and that kind of billing is really cumbersome. So I think, the main reason is that in other countries we have a decent level of, conversion. But we're not promoting Pro either that much. Like you can see the economic receipt, and see like it's there in the menu, but we're not really pushing users to go Pro.
More questions? Many of you have entrepreneurial ideas in your mind. You can probably ask a few questions.
I think they want to go home.
Yeah, long time ago.
One question. So if you don't mind me asking, what is your revenue model? Because you stop people like who are cold calling, let's say for marketing like B2C, and you stop that kind of a thing. So what is going to be your revenue model, if you don't mind me asking?
No, of course. So our revenue model is, as you've seen in that, there's ads, right? But I think the way we look at ads is a bit different. So, in a market like India, where historically at least, most people have not been online. So trying to spam your inbox will not work because most people do not have an inbox, like a Gmail or whatever. And that is traditionally, like in many other markets, that's how you would spam the users. For India, a lot of businesses start to spam users on the phone numbers because that's how you can get connected to the world, and that's how you get them. So we do protect you from that spam, but instead, think of other more relevant ways where there's some relevancy to the ad. So, for instance, one of the experiments we've done on our ad platform is during demonetization. There was a lot of people that started to call banks, and for those people, we showed we had an ad for an app called Walnut, which happens to be like also a Sequoia funded company, and so we for that when they called the bank, and that was a way because that was then relevant for that call, and basically that's one way of looking at ads, and there's many other ways, but basically making sure that instead of giving you a bunch of spam calls and things that are totally irrelevant. Like I often get spam calls for buying, socks. They call you and they want you to buy socks. But there's other spam calls that want you to buy, shaving cream, and for me that's more relevant. But I don't get those calls. I get the socks calls, and I don't want the socks. So,
Yeah.
I'm not finding any of your ads or online forums. They're switching to the so what do you do?
You mean marketing and online marketing? We are. honestly, we haven't done it good enough so that it would reach you. But we're actually very actively engaged in, for instance, within this whole kind of community. So if you check out, I think forums like the Empower User, or like there's a couple of other ones, we have users there from our support team that usually writes like we have updates and keeps the community going. So, but we're probably not doing a good enough job to reach out to everyone. But even on Android forums or iOS forums, we're very macro users. But much of other forums where a lot of people are looking out for the latest products or recommendations and such. We try to be active in those places because, like I mentioned before, Truecaller was first launched on a forum. And it's kind of in our DNA because both me and Alan you can still find comments on, if you guys know XDA forum, which is another forum, you can still find comments and answers from my handle there from me. Sometimes when I'm bored in the evening, I go in there and I answer some questions or post like the latest update or whatever. We try to be active in that.
Thank you. I think the last Shankar asked was this nice question to find out whether there are marketing opportunities in Truecaller. How many of you were interested to work for a company like this? How many of you would like to start an enterprise like this? So here are two opportunities. If you want to reach out to him, write to him about the enterprise idea you have. Give him ideas of different revenue models, how in fact Truecaller can go ahead and come up with more verticals. And yes, absolutely. I think and most of these students, they have actually done a course on design thinking and innovation. And most of them are technical people, so I think they can come out with some wonderful ideas. So reach out to them. I don't know how. You reach out Twitter, Facebook, whatever, Truecaller. So it would not be proper on my part to not introduce Manan, who actually heads India operations of Truecaller marketing, and Tom is here, who actually is the senior leader from the US market. So both of them, in fact, were here because of paucity of time. We could not share their views. I think we can call it Manan anytime later. I think we're based out of Pune, so we can have him some more time to understand the nitty-gritties of how this platform works. Thanks a lot, Nami, for being here. Thanks, Manan, for putting us on to him. Thanks, Tom, for spending the evening with us. And thank you, all of you, for patiently listening to the insights of how this entire organization came up with. I would request Neha, if you can please give a token of appreciation to Nami, please. May I request, can I give you one token appreciation to Tom? And you will be president of the Student Council, Ayush. You can actually hand over one of the tokens appreciation to Manu. Once again, thank you, Nami, for being here with us, and hope to see you more of Truecaller at our campus. Thank you.